Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Excelcast. I'm your host, Joe Parker, and today I have a very special guest. Let me introduce you to Emmanuele Sembroni. He's a former professional soccer player for the New York Cosmos who transitioned to a career in finance. He's currently a financial service professional with Mass Mutual Greater Philadelphia. Emmanuel, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic, Joe. How are you?
I'm fantastic as well. Thank you for taking the time and putting your energy into coming on the show. Um, for your word, you chose empowerment. So describe what that means to you and why you chose that to be your word for the episode.
Absolutely, Joe. First thing first, thank you for having me here. And hi to everyone over here. Thank you for your time to looking at us in this beautiful podcast with Joe. Empowerment, man, it's people development, right? I'm in the people business and I love to develop others more than you can even imagine, right? I come from a sport environment, which is like team building, taking care of all the aspects. Never leave anyone behind you, right? So I'm the type of guy.
Awesome. Yeah. And just with when you bring other people along on your journey with your knowledge, it's very rewarding in that aspect because you yourself, you learn certain things as you teach others. So I think that's a very good perspective to have on that word and on your profession as well.
Absolutely. That is like what I love to call exponential growth.
Absolutely. So, with you being a professional soccer player, like how was that experience? Just developing as a person with hard work, determination, and grit. How did that, play a role in building who you are?
Well, that is certainly the best experience of my life, of course. I was a little boy coming from Italy with a dream of becoming a professional football player in Europe, soccer for America. But that was possible through a lot of commitment, a lot of sacrifices, like strong perseverance, right? And never give up. Always believe in your dreams, always believe in yourself. And that was the recipe that made me today the person that I am. So I really love the sport journey.
Yeah, absolutely. Being able to really hone in and focus on one thing and put all of your determination, a ton of sweat equity into yourself and who you are and investing in you, becoming a professional player. I mean, that's the highest level to be able, achieving. That's the highest level that one can achieve when it comes to that. So it really speaks to internally who you are and the character that you have as a person. And that was, it was amazing to see that, you transition that over into your now professional career. So how was that journey? Taking the soccer career and transitioning over to your current career, and what different aspects, did you take from that?
Of course, the number one thing that I want to say, because nobody likes to talk about negative transition, right? Because it's uncomfortable. And of course, when you let go part of your life that it's been there for over 26 years, it's very sad. It is a dark place where you find yourself alone. All of a sudden, the spotlights, the lights that they were like lighting you inside of that field, they're off, and it's you versus you, right? So that transition helped me to develop an inner strength that I was able to transfer from one field to the other. So it is like surprising how many transferable skills you can bring for sports to finance, right? Because at the end of the day, sport teaches you a lot of resilience. The resilience that you need if you want to experience a financial career.
Absolutely. And being able to hone that same work ethic and hone that same sort of focus mentality, but it does take a lot to kind of shift a whole different mindset and a whole different profession with that. But once you have that foundation, I feel like it can really carry across categories, as you said. So that's a great mindset that you have when it comes to that. And were there any specific, perspectives or lessons that you gained during your career in soccer or football, as you call it, that you converted into your career?
Absolutely. So the first transferable skill that I think about is discipline. right? You learn a lot of discipline through sports. That discipline, if you are good enough to get it with you, and you can transfer it in anything that you do in life, both career and personal life. So that is an advantage that you can take it with you. And that was absolutely super helpful for me. I don't lie to you that at the beginning was a big challenge, a big jump, right? Jumping into the unknown, right? So that uncomfortable scenario where, oh my God, who am I gonna be tomorrow? What is this new journey, right? But for me, was incredible how many things that I was able to bring with me from sport to financials. So many things that are correlated.
Yeah, I think also that faith that you had to just be like, I know the work ethic, I know the discipline that I have, I know all the building and all the steps that I've taken to become a professional soccer player. I can now apply that to finances. And I think that it's, when someone has to change their career, change their path completely. I mean, athlete to finance, that's a whole different ballgame. You didn't go from athlete to coach, you didn't go from athlete to referee. You completely changed what you're doing. And that definitely took a leap of faith on your part. And, I think it really speaks to the confidence that you have in yourself, the confidence that you have in your abilities, in your discipline, and I think that's one of the main things that discipline fosters is confidence. And I think that you're a great example of that, especially when, you have this high energy and like focused mindset when it comes to teaching people different things. So what's like the main driving force behind your high energy and your focused mindset?
That's a very good question. And that is what will make the difference in anything that you will do in life, finding your why, right? So why and what is the main force that is pushing me? Certainly is my wife. I am a proud husband of an incredible woman, and I am so blessed to have her in my life. We had some challenges last year, like important medical challenges that we were able to overcome together. So I always like to these type of challenges, also if they're very difficult in moments, right? Sometimes you don't know how to face them, what to do, and how to react. But at the same time, you find the strength inside that anytime you look at your why, then you have no excuses, right? So you're
Yeah,
getting out of bed and say, hey, that's your why over there. Just go
absolutely.
out there and do what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that perspective because I've always felt that kind of, but you really just put it into words. One of the reasons that I started losing weight was someone in my life, they were getting picked on for being heavy. And I started my journey a little bit before I found out. But once I found out, I really started going. And actually, like, always would look at a picture of them. They're actually on my refrigerator. And before I left for the gym, before I left to run, before I left to walk, I would always look at it. And that's actually, thank you for putting that into words for me, but that's something that I lived and I understand exactly where you're coming from with that specific situation and mindset. Um, so yeah, thank you.
Joe, the why Joe is the game changer.
Yeah, it is. It is,
It's a big
especially if
one.
you're trying to make a huge impact on others, a huge impact on yourself, a huge impact on your mindset. When you just have a goal and there's no why to it, you may do something, but you're not going to have that massive impact because at some point your brain, your body, whatever it may be, is going to logically say, okay, like we're done. And that why is that extra gear. It's that second wind. It's something that drives you past your logical thought process, honestly. And just like you said, it's the reason you wake up. It's the reason you do what you do. And I really like that mindset. And thank you for sharing that. Absolutely.
Of course, Joe, my pleasure, man.
Yeah. So, in your experience, what role does having a positive mindset play in achieving long term success? And how do you help others cultivate that positive energy?
That's a great question, man. I believe that attitude makes the biggest impact in every single day, in every single thing that you face in life. Attitude is positivity. If you have that positive attitude and you bring it with you, and then you're able to bring like a large group of people that they buy into your vision, that they buy into the energy, that they buy into like the goals that they have, right? So attitude is the engine that should drive any single person that wants to have a career as an entrepreneur, right? So attitude is part of my daily activity of life, but also like if you want to compare it to, um, let me give you an Italian one here. It's like pane and Nutella. It's like in America you say bread and butter.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, I got you.
In Italy we say bread and Nutella, pane and
Okay.
Nutella.
Okay.
That's what it is, brother.
Nutella here is hazelnut and chocolate. So when you said Nutella, for a second I didn't know what was going on, but I understand now that you explained it. What you were trying to say there, and yeah, it's all about how you show up. It's all about you can't go wrong with being positive. That's something that I've learned. You can't go wrong with being optimistic, positive. Hey, because I'd rather be optimistic and wrong than pessimistic and right. Because okay, you said that wasn't going to work out and it didn't. Now where do we go? You're just you're just someone who's pessimistic now and you're just back to the drawing board where at least if you're optimistic and you're positive, you have that drive and you have that energy that can propel you to go different routes. So I think it's really important to have that mindset and I think that you're someone who really cultivates that mindset in yourself as well as in other people. And I think that's key to your success and the audience that you've been able to generate and the people that you've been able to surround yourself with.
Yes, Joe. And now that I'm thinking, the other day I was at the office and I had Linda. Linda is a very important figure for me, right? And she was like, "Hey, man, listen, bud. Are you ever sad sometime? Like, do you know what sad means?" And I'm like, well, not really, but when I go home, I get pretty sad. You know what I mean? But when I'm over here, when I'm out, and when I'm like going to realize all of my dreams and to empower other people, and can be the sad attitude. It's like you got to be able to isolate yourself from your personal, because your mission is going to determine a lot of others' missions that you're trying to impact, right? So
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, it's bigger than you. That it comes down to that. It's bigger than you. And if you give that energy that you have to other people, you grow a community, you grow the right people, you attract the right people. And I think it's very important to have that mindset. And anyone who knows you knows that that is something that you definitely you have a standard of being positive and you keep that standard keep it to a high standard all the time and yeah, so what's the most rewarding aspect of your career? I mean, we kind of touched on it, but what's the number one most rewarding aspect of it?
mm, very good one. So I have a lot of multiple aspects here, but let's call it the American dream. That's what it is. Like for people like me that come from different country, different culture, and I was kind of born this way. I was kind of born like an American citizen in
Yeah.
a body of an Italian one, right? So
Okay.
that is how I call my fulfillment. To me, like the American dream is something that I would try to pass until the end of my days to others. Because if you are able to achieve it, and you can call it America, you can call it anything you want, anything you like. If you understand that power, the power that anything is possible, that's what is my highest fulfillment, and I call it the American dream.
Yeah, would you say it's like capitalizing on opportunity, being excited that you have opportunity, that you have options, that you have choices, things like that?
I would say that be who you want to be,
Mm.
which is equal freedom. And that's something that, man, once you get to that level and it starts, with your mind, and then it transfers all the things that you build, right? Materialistic comes at the end for me. Value and people come before anything, right?
Yes,
When you reach that type of level, that type of wisdom, man, that is what it is for me. It's like value over everything, brother.
absolutely. The value that you can provide to others and the knowledge that you can provide to others is definitely something that I feel like a lot of people don't consciously realize or consciously take into consideration. So thank you for saying that, because I feel like that's very an important concept for our listeners to grasp, is that value and success don't always come from money. It rarely does, because you can have a lot of money and you can be sick. You can have a lot of money and not talk to any family. You can have a lot of money and you name it. But if you place value in those other things and get those ducks in a row, money will surround that. So I think that's a great, mindset and a great concept to definitely mention. And thank you for sharing that.
Of course, Joe, my pleasure.
So, what would I'm in college, right? Graduate student, I'm about to finish up here in December. What would be a piece of advice that you would give to someone who's just finished their education and they don't really know what to do with their life? They're trying to find their way. What would be the piece of advice that you would give them?
The one that comes at top of my mind, don't be afraid to make mistakes. Make mistakes, because that will help you to understand the next step of your life. And also who you want to be, right? Because majority of time, we're young, we're coming out of school, we're coming out of college, we're coming out of any background that anybody has, because everybody's different, right? But making mistakes and challenging yourself and going out there and trying new things, that will lead you to who you want to be in life. And I'm telling you, because I had, Joe, a similar experience when I retired and then I transitioned to Penn State University first, right? And we spoke about it. And for me, it was okay, now I am 32 years old. Man, you're going back to school, man. It's like, all right. So I didn't even know why I was going back to school.
Mm,
But look where it led me, man. Like, I'm here today talking to you,
yeah,
right? So don't be afraid to make mistake. Take action in everything you do. The execution is gonna make a huge difference.
yeah, absolutely. And I feel like a lot of people won't take action because they're afraid of that mistake. They're afraid that it won't work out. But what I've noticed on my journey is, even if something doesn't work out entirely, a couple years down the line, you see that, well, why did I do this over here 5 years back? And then 5 years in the future, you're like, oh, that's why, because I needed that skill for this, for what I'm doing right now. And had I never taken that step, had I never taken that leap of faith and tried what I wanted to try, even though it didn't work out, I would have never had the skill in order to actually fulfill my purpose. And that's why, I was there. Like when I hated communications class. I hated it. I hated public speaking. I hated going up in front of people and talking, especially improv, anything like that. And now I'm hosting a podcast, Manny, which doesn't line up. But there was a reason that I took those communications classes. There was a reason I had to do all those presentations and things like that. And it actually built my confidence. And had I avoided those classes or try to find a way out of them, I would have never developed the skills that I had now. So definitely taking into consideration the fact that just take action. Do what scares you a little bit. I feel like that's another thing. do what scares you. And
There you go.
yeah,
You named it.
yeah. Has there ever been anything other than, right out of college, you anything that you've done that's kind of been scary? I mean, maybe you know, I don't know. Has there ever been anything in your life you've done that's been a little scary?
Absolutely. Scared all the time, man. You gotta know how to utilize that, right? So
Yeah,
imagine this. Imagine this. You are teenager, right? So I left home when I was 16, jumped to the unknown of am I gonna become a professional athlete, right?
yeah,
So move out, went on my own path to become an athlete. Now I did, I became one. And then every year it's 1 year contract, a 2 year contract. You get to the end of the year and it's like, you scared, man. I don't know what to do next year. Also, if you perform, there are so many factors, so many players, right? So many like components that they need to go together in order for you to get your next contract,
yeah,
right? Or in my case, I'm in Italy. I want to go play outside of my own country. And I went to Switzerland. Oh my God, I've never been to Switzerland before and it's so close. It's like, so let me go try and see. And I was scared, man. It's like the first 3.5 months, 4 months, very hard to adjust. Different culture, different customs, like, okay. And then what's next? America. Wow. It's like now we're going to America. Now we're living the American dream. And now I have New York City in front of me, man. Like you got this beautiful animal, this beast, right? That is challenging you every day. And you come from Italy, like with your commodity, and you get to New York City that is super fast paced, right? Super dynamic, super career oriented, man. And I'm like, wow, of course I'm scared, right? And I
yeah,
retired from soccer, went to school, then financial services. Of course I'm scared. When I buy a house, of course I'm scared, man. What if it's not gonna work? I think about this thing all the time. But then action and courage and your long-term vision will give you the other part that you're missing in the puzzle.
yeah. I mean, being able to take a risk in life, I feel, is the reason for living. I forget who the motivational speaker is. I believe it's Zig Ziglar. He says that, you know how risky life is? Well, you're not going to get out of it alive. So you might as well take some risks while you're in it. And
That's good.
I think you embodied that. You embodied that quote. Just being as young as you were, saying, you know what, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it now. Would you say you were 16 years old, trying for
Yes.
professional soccer? Um, just having that faith, especially at that age. I feel like that's not a lot of things that people take into consideration anymore. I feel like a lot of people are, I got to get my college degree before I can start, or I have to finish school before I can start. You have to be this age before you start your business, or you have to be this age before you start a career. And I feel like not a lot of people, I don't know if it's the society that we're in, they feel like you have to be a certain age before X, Y, and Z. And I don't feel like that has to be the case for everyone. And you definitely showed that by saying, I'm 16 years old. I'm going to go be a professional soccer player.
Yeah, Joe. It is like it is something that I wish to anyone to try at least one time in their life,
Yeah,
like understand what works for you and make it happen, man. That fulfillment, brother, wow, that is priceless.
absolutely. Absolutely. So I know that you had a quote that you wanted to leave with our listeners with. So do you want to share that quote now?
Of course, and I'm sure you already know it, because I was a defender before, but the best defense is a good offense, right?
Yeah.
And that's my quote. So we get carried away with the attractive things, the attractiveness. I want things right away. I want things now, right? But think about it. What is going to give you the highest satisfaction is when you have that defense that is there for you and you don't even see it. But when it's needed, man, they're gonna do the job for you. When you're not performing, is gonna be there for you. So I was a defender, so I know the essence and I know the meaning. So that's for me. It's my life game changer.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. I love that mindset because that's honestly something that my dad taught me too when I was younger. He goes, it doesn't matter how bad your defense is if you score more goals in the offense or than the other team. Sorry, rather on offense. So it's kind of like, and I think it also ties into you taking risks in life. When you take risks and you go on the offense, some people think that you're risking, which you are, you're risking things, but you always learn a lesson and you always grow. So going on the offense, I feel like is the best for you because you always gain a skill, you always learn a lesson. And I feel like that's something that people should definitely take away from this podcast is, you know, take a risk in life and go out and do what makes you happy, as you said. And yeah, is there anything else that you want to share? Anything else that you want to that comes to your mind?
Find your why, you find your way, right?
Yep,
That's something that I believe is a good closer over here, right? Because the what I've been seeing in all my life journey, both in sports and in finances, the the bridge that prevents you to either I realize my dream versus I'm not, it comes over here in your mind. It starts here and then it transitions into action, right? So first understand how, why, and how to go get it, and then on the other hand, the execution, that is going to take you where you need to be.
absolutely. Plan, execute, repeat, Manny.
There you go. There you go. You know it.
Yes. So if our listeners want to follow you on, I don't know what social medias do you have for our listeners if they want to follow you on anything.
Of course, they can follow me on LinkedIn at Emanuele Meni Sembroni, and then they can follow me on Instagram, Emanuele.Sembroni, and Facebook the same. So I'm very simple.
Okay.
First name and last name.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's definitely lucky when you get to have all those handles and it's just your name too. I recently changed mine and had to add some numbers to it. But yeah, no, that's yeah. So I'll drop those in the description as well. Um, I will, you know, thank you for coming on, Manny. I appreciate
Thank you,
it.
Joe.
Absolutely. And to all of our listeners out there, follow us on Spotify. Follow us on Instagram at Excelcast underscore. Also, like the or follow the podcast, like the show, do the poll down below, do the Q&A down below, and as always, stay blessed and excel.